Hello again, everyone. This is Davis from Hardin County Conservation. We are going to continue our spring series here since everybody's still stuck inside. And we're going to transition a little bit from the spring ephemerals, spring wildflowers, and we're going to transition into migratory birds because it is World Migratory Bird Week. So we have lots of great stuff that's starting to show up already. We've seen some awesome birds over the last couple days, in particular with this warm weather. In this video, we are going to cover some of those species that we've already bumped into, such as Rosebreasted Grosbeaks, chipping sparrows, gray catbirds, things that you guys might see at your feeders in the coming weeks that you've maybe never seen before. We'll talk a little bit about the biology of those creatures. We'll show you some of them up close in just short video snippets. And then we'll kind of do some compare and contrast with a few of our species, such as white-throated sparrows and white-crowned sparrows that look very similar to one another, that are kind of hard to distinguish, but we will give you some tips and tricks to identify those. But what we want to talk about first, before we get started into individual species, we actually want to talk about why we are seeing an influx of migratory birds. So, like I mentioned, we have a warm up in temperatures, which is great. That is going to push a lot of birds north our direction, particularly species like ruby-throated hummingbirds and Baltimore orioles that require those warmer temperatures. We are also seeing a lot of rain, which is a good thing, helping our plants to grow. It's going to help them to produce berries, fruits, things for our birds to eat. Not only that, with warmer temperatures, we're also going to start to see caterpillars, ants, beetles, other food sources for our migratory birds that are going to start to show up. And then it is also, and actually probably the main reason that our birds come back, we are in their traditional nesting grounds for a lot of species of warblers, various kinds of woodpeckers, any of the species I mentioned earlier, the sparrows and the buntings and grosbeaks and all sorts of other stuff. So they're going to come back to reproduce, and we are kind of hitting that time where we're seeing an influx in a lot of species because they are coming back to reproduce. So in this video, again, we are going to cover lots of different species, but I think the one I am going to start us with first is one that is pretty non-distinct, but nonetheless a cool migratory bird species. And that is going to be the chipping sparrow. So tag along with us here. We're going to start with the chipping sparrow, and then we're going to move you through a whole bunch of other species too. So we have some videos for you and some stills for you. So hang in there with us and stay tuned. Okay, so in the tree here we have a pair of chipping sparrows. One just hopped up and one's kind of sitting at the bottom of the screen. Chipping sparrows do spend their summers here in Iowa. They spend their winters in the south just like a lot of our other birds. They look very similar to an American tree sparrow, but you'll notice on the bird that's right here, if you can kind of see behind his eye, rather than having a kind of a chestnut colored stripe behind his eye, he has a black stripe, which tells me that is a chipping sparrow. Other distinctions, if we look at the chest, pretty uniform in feather colors. If we were to look at an American tree sparrow, they would have kind of a mottling look that is kind of black speckling on a gray chest. So this tells me this is not an American tree sparrow. This is a chipping sparrow. So sitting right in front of us here is a Yellowrumped Warbler. This is the first warbler that we tend to see in Iowa, especially up here in Hardin County. And Yellowrumped warblers are kind of interesting. They like to hang around water, but they will hang around feeders like we're seeing here. They are insectivores, so they're looking for things like caterpillars or moths or things that are kind of fluttering and flying around. They'll pick up ants and things off the ground too, but Yellowrumped warblers are a migratory species. They spend most of their winter down in the Caribbean, and they actually make their way back up here when it gets warmer. And as you can see, I've already lost him because they move so quick. Okay, here we have another migratory species. This is a brown-headed cowbird. Again, they spend their winters in the south. And brown-headed cowbirds are interesting. They're actually a species of nest parasite. So what they will do is they will go into another bird's nest and they will actually kick out the eggs that the non-cowbird has laid, and they will lay their own eggs inside that other bird's nest, and the mama bird that originally laid her eggs there will actually take care of the brown-headed cowbird's babies. So this is a male, I can tell you that for sure. He's got that dark kind of black purpley plumage on his body, and then he's got the really dark brown head too. But brown-headed cowbirds are another migratory bird, and that is actually the first one I've seen yet this spring, so that's a pretty good sign that we're getting a flush of good birds back. Okay, here we have a really cool sighting. This is down in the timber along the creek at Calkins Nature Area, and for those of you that have not seen one of these before, they are kind of shy and they do fly off pretty quick, so we're going to talk really fast about this one. But this is an eastern bluebird. I can tell it is a bluebird, not a bunting, because buntings are smaller and they're all blue. Eastern bluebirds have a lot of orange on the chest and then kind of a lighter baby blue color on their head. So this tells me this is an eastern bluebird. If you want to attract eastern bluebirds to your property, one of the best things that you can do is provide them with nesting boxes. So we use nesting boxes here at Calkins Nature Center along the trails of our prairie, which is where they normally hang out. This bird is actually on an edge habitat right now, so very likely it's coming in to feed inside the forest somewhere. And there it goes. Here we have a male Rosebreasted Grosbeak, and this is another one of our migratory species that has come up from the south. We are now into the first week of May, and this is when we tend to see this bird show up, but this is a close family member of the cardinal. If you look at that beak, their beak shape is very similar. It's very deep and very short, which is used for cracking open seeds. And the bird that just scared him off is his girlfriend. So that is the female Rosebreasted Grosbeak. She's kind of a grayish brown with that yellow colored chest. The male, which just flew by again, has that really vibrant red patch on his chest. So real quick, I'm going to show you a side-by-side of how these two are sexually dimorphic, which means the male and the female look different, so that you can get an idea of how to maybe distinguish the two, but know that they are the same bird even though they look different. So one's just a boy and one's just a girl. Here's another migratory species that we get here in Iowa. This is called a gray catbird, and they are a pretty simple bird to identify when you're out in the field. They are just gray in color, long shaped beak. They do eat a variety of things. They'll eat seeds and insects and all sorts of things. They do prefer their bugs and fruits. But this little guy, the reason he gets his name Catbird is when they call, they actually sound like a meowing cat. So pretty definitive bird, easy to identify when you're out in the forest. But again, that is our gray catbird, and we will post a still picture right here for you. Okay, so right here we have another one of our migratory species, and this is a white-throated sparrow. They look a little bit different than the white crowned sparrow. We're going to show you a side-by-side here so you can see some of the distinctions I'm going to discuss. But on the head of the white-throated sparrow that we're looking at here, you'll notice at the front of the crown there's a little bit of a yellow patch, and then the throat has a distinct white, kind of an oval shape underneath the chin, and the crown has a less prominent white. If you were to look at a white-crowned sparrow, so again this is a white-throated sparrow, if you were to look at a white-crowned sparrow, the crown actually has almost totally white on the top with just thin black stripes. So there are a few distinctions, but this one here is definitely a white-throated sparrow. And again, you can tell because it's got the yellow crown in the front, the yellow patch in the front, the white throat, and the white stripes, kind of like the old Rams football helmet on the top. Okay, so just for distinction here, here's our white crowned sparrow. So you can see that white top on the head is much more prominent than on the white-throated sparrow. There's a lot more white. At the front of the crown, there's no yellow patch, and there's also no white throat. So 100% I can tell you this is a white crowned sparrow and not a white-throated sparrow. So this is another one of our migratory species that we see here in the springtime. All right, so that is going to do it for our video this time around. We are going to do a couple more of these, just like we did with our wildflower series. And the reason for that is we haven't really seen the good influx of warblers yet. We're still kind of getting indigo buntings to trickle in. Baltimore orioles are really just starting to show up. So we're not seeing a ton of those great birds yet, but we're in the next couple weeks here expecting to see a lot of them, even orchard orioles and some of the really unique stuff, towhees and things like that. So we're going to post another couple of videos here the next couple weeks, but this is going to be our main video for National Bird Week or World Bird Week, because we need to put a video out. It's exciting, always fun to see the new migratory species that show up every day and every week. Sometimes when we hit a warm snap, it may be a couple hours and boom, all of a sudden we have tons of unique birds here. So we're going to keep you updated. Definitely follow along with us. If you'd like to follow our social media sites just to keep updated with day-to-day operations, you can definitely do that. Our Hardin County Conservation Facebook page would be a good resource for that, as well as our Calkins Nature Area Facebook page. You can also follow Hardin County Conserve on Twitter. If you do have any questions for us in this video, you can definitely leave a comment in the comments section below, or you can message us on any of our social media outlets with any questions you might have. So stay tuned for more videos in the near future, and thank you guys for watching.